Welcome back. Atlanta-based Diaz Foods is one of the largest distributors of Hispanic food products in the U.S. The company's roots stretch back nearly 5 decades to when a Cuban exile arrived in Atlanta and decided to open a grocery store chain. Now, since then, 3 generations of Diaz family members have cultivated a business that imports goods from virtually all of South America. Today, Diaz Foods CEO Rene Diaz talks about his family's humble beginnings and how the confluence of entrepreneurship and a rapidly changing demographic has helped give the Atlanta-based company a presence in nearly half the country. It's all in our Executive Profiles with Ed Baker.
Welcome, Rene.
Thank you, Ed.
We're happy to have you here. We want to talk about the world of Diaz Foods, but we have to begin that conversation back with your grandparents. So take us back to Cuba.
My grandfather was one of, I think, 4 other brothers and 2 sisters. Got into the ranching business in Cuba. Had 2 ranches. My father, when he was born, got into it, and my aunt as well. Unfortunately, Fidel Castro took power. Everything was nationalized. We lost everything. We got out in '67, so almost 8 years after.
It was late.
Yeah, 8 years after. I lived 6 years under communist government. So we came straight to Atlanta because of that. My grandfather was known as the cowboy because he wore cowboy boots, a cowboy hat every day here in Atlanta. And he worked for 2 years as a janitor on Beaufort Highway, saved every penny he had. And with that, he opened a little bitty grocery store on the corner of 6th and Peachtree. Unfortunately, though, my grandfather didn't have enough money for insurance, and the laundromat next to it caught on fire, so we had smoke and water damage, and we lost everything. But thanks to a great company, Alterman Foods, David Alterman came down and on a handshake refilled our grocery store with groceries, which nowadays we don't do that. Really, if it wasn't for David Alterman, we wouldn't be here today as a company. With that one store, my grandfather and my aunt and my uncle and my father opened a second, a third, and a fourth. And then by 1980, we had stopped. We had 4 stores. The demographics were shifting, a little bit different.
There wasn't much of a Latino population here then either, though.
There were about 30,000 to 40,000 Latinos, of which most of them were Cuban descent. Mm-hmm. But the demographics were changing. Now the Cubans were aging, going back to Miami. Our store business were starting to go down. My father started in 1976 bringing African products from Africa, bringing Jamaican products from Jamaica, and then in 1977 bringing in Mexican products from Chicago and from Mexico. So he was way ahead of the curve on any of these products. So we had a very mixed audience of customers. By the early 80s, mid-80s, we started closing down the stores. And in 1980, my father and my grandfather got together and opened up, and my aunt and my uncle got together and opened up a small little commissary to service our grocery stores and also some of the surrounding states, some of the stores in the surrounding states. So I think we had five customers, plus our stores, so a total of 10. I had just graduated from Marist, started in Georgia State, and I was asked to join the company as the only one employee. And I did. My pay was $0 a week. Had a roof over my head, and that was enough.
But you ate well.
But I ate well. My mom was a great cook, and my grandmother. But we were on the corner of 10th and Juniper, and that little business grew from a 6,000 square foot building to then in 1985 to a 20,000 square foot building in Chattahoochee Avenue. And then in 1990, moved to Fulton Industrial, where we moved to a 50,000 square foot building. And today, we're in a 175,000 square foot building right on Fulton Industrial.
How many employees? How many different products?
Diaz Foods, that company, has about 350 employees. We also have a tortilla manufacturing plant with about another 50. Then we also own a small little restaurant. So combined total, probably about 425 employees. And total products that Diaz Foods distributes about 6,000.
And those products are being distributed where these days? How far out is your reach?
We do 23 states out of Atlanta. And we have about 3,000 active customers out of 6,000 in our base.
So what are the secrets of your success? I mean, I know you have deep entrepreneurial roots. I know you're very passionate about business in general, but What's the message to the next generation of entrepreneurs, those people who are looking to get off the ground as startups and those companies that are looking for that unique selling proposition?
I think if I looked at my life and said, what's the one thing, hard-headedness, at least my wife would tell you it's hard-headedness. I like to refine that and call it being consistent. So being consistent, consistently hard-headed.
You read between the lines and you pay close attention to the small stuff, if you will, right?
Right, it's on the details. It's knowing your client, it's knowing your people that work for you, it's knowing what you do, your business and everything else. And just really understanding your core business, having, great grandparents, great parents, that whole family support system. That is really, I think, what got me to where I am today. My father taught me more the entrepreneur spirit, which I haven't mastered yet. He has, I haven't. It's seeing the need, or the latent demand that's out there before anyone else sees it. My dad has that. I haven't mastered it yet.
Well, respectfully, as we wind this up, I would disagree. I think you have mastered it, and all you need is now that cowboy hat and those boots that your grandfather wore, because it's all about success.
That's right.
And you've certainly achieved it. And gracias for all the wonderful food that you've offered to this community for so many years.
De nada. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Diaz Foods has plans to expand operations. The company aims to open 2 distribution centers, one in the coming months and the other sometime next year. It's eyeing areas in Central Florida and North Carolina.